Andy Barron's Matt Harmon. I'm Jason Fitz. We're here to get you ready for your fantasy football lineup throughout the course of the entire weekend. Before we get to any preview of what's to come, I just want to say thank God for gambling in fantasy football. Because let's be honest, tonight's matchup is trash. Like the Bears taking on the Commanders is not a matchup anybody other than Barron's is watching, right? But hear me out, Matt. Like I'm just saying, when you got a little skin in the game, which a lot of us do nowadays, even a bad Thursday night football matchup is going to get eyeballs because we all care about what it means for our own personal wallets and tennis. Now let's get into something even more fun. It's time to look at our fantasy game changers for this week, powered by Ram Trucks. You know what we're going to do here? We're going to give you a word that we associate with Ram Trucks, and then importantly, a player we associate with that word. So let's start with Matt. I'm going to give you the word is capable. What do you got for me?
Ooh, when I think capable and capability, I think Marquise Brown of the Arizona Cardinals. Man, people just left the Cardinals for dead this season. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh yeah, I was excited about the Cardinals offense heading into this year. I certainly had my skepticism, but one guy I knew was a good player here and squarely in the prime of his career is Marquise Brown. Is he like a true number one receiver? Is he the best against press man coverage? No, not necessarily, but since he's come into the league, he's been one of the top zone beating receivers in reception perception. He's been over 80% success rate versus zone in every single year of his career. He's been a steady guy there, and he's been getting the volume in Arizona so far this year. Among all pass catchers, he ranks 12th in air yard share, 15th in target share, and he's the wide receiver 18 in fantasy. So don't be surprised by Marquise Brown and his production. I think you can continue to ride him as like a wide receiver 3 or a flex, maybe even like a low-end wide receiver 2 every single week.
All right, I'm going to get in on the fun this week, and I'm going to give you a player that I associate with the word versatile. And my player on this one was easy for me, Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara made his return last week, got a 36.8% target share in his first week back, 13 catches, 11 carries, again, in his first game back. So where we've seen other players that have missed some time come back and need to knock that rust off, he didn't need to. And when you factor also the shoulder issue that Derek Carr has, it means they're going to have to rely more on Alvin Kamara, not only from the backfield, but as I said last week, and I've said repeatedly, Carr likes to dump it off. He likes to find that safety outlet. If his shoulders bother him, he's going to need to do that even more. So the concept of versatile is easy for me on Alvin Kamara because the Saints will go as Alvin Kamara goes with them on offense this week. I believe that he's going to get an even bigger share. 13 catches, 11 carries, first game back. That's only going to get even bigger. All right, Andy, you get to get in on the fun now. I'm going to go with trustworthy. Trustworthy. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the Arizona offense, and it's kind of wild that we're talking about them, right? Because I think during the season we were all like, man, are they even trying to win? Everybody had jokes. James Conner has been utterly trustworthy this season. He's giving us 87 scrimmage yards per week on average. He's reached the end zone twice. He was fantastic against Dallas. He was the foundation of a pretty surprising Arizona offense there. He was sneaky efficient against San Francisco too. It wasn't the biggest game in terms of box score numbers, but again, very efficient. Two of the worst matchups on his schedule are actually now behind him, and he's about to face Cincinnati, a defense that ranks number 31 against the run, that allows over 5 yards per carry. I think he's going to eat in this one. He's also the kind of player who, very capable receiver, so he's kind of impervious to game flow. Derrick Henry just ran all over the Bengals, and I think Conner is about to do the same.
No matter what you're looking for in a light-duty truck, the 2023 Ram 1500's got you covered. Score yours at ram.com. I have to ask this question. Are we all in on is this a lot of Cardinals talk in this show early on? Is that because the Cardinals are actually good, or because we thought the Cardinals, you know me, I'm a big horror movie fan, right? Like I went into Saw 10 and I thought, I walked out of Saw 10 and I was like, hey, that was pretty good. Was it really good? No, but I had low expectations for Saw 10. Yeah. Like maybe the Cardinals are Saw 10 in this and we just had low expectations.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a top 10 movie in the Saw series, so that's exciting for you. That's great. I think actually Arizona is kind of like Harmon was describing with the Bears. They have concentrated things with a couple of their best players, right? And we get excited about that in fantasy. Like all the stats are going to Hollywood Brown. They're going to James Conner. We saw a little bit of Michael Wilson last week. That was fun. But this has really been Brown has been money every week and Conner has been money every week. And again, in fantasy, we love that.
Michael Wilson is good. Andy, Michael Wilson is a really, really good player. And by the way, there's rumors that Marquise Brown could be on the trade deadline. Like he could be on the block, he might get moved. So if you have Michael Wilson, that dude might be about to moonwalk into 8 to 10 targets every single week. And he could play, man. So yeah, what a meme, baby. Fire it up. The Arizona Cardinals, we're gassed up.
I'm shooketh right now. Not only that I got a yes out of Harmon in the middle of a statement about a Cardinals player, but look at the joy on his face. He's like a kid on Christmas Day, and he's like, we got him. This is amazing over the car. All right, I digress. All right. Oh man, this is the drug that we're all addicted to. Okay, now it's time to help you. We got to help you make your pick. We're going to look at some tough decisions with multiple players for users submitted via social media. We're going to help people out. You've also submitted these on the Fantasy app. Be sure to get out there. You can get to us through all of this, and we're going to get some questions up. We'll start with Nicholas. Nicholas giving us the first question, says, ask FFL, start to, sit to at wide receiver. Pittman, McLaurin, Flowers, Myers. Not asking for paragraph, but any type of reasoning with the reason for the 2 start to be greatly appreciated. So we have a dictation here. Where are we going on this one, Harmon?
Oh, God, man. Why you got to send it to me? I could write a paragraph for all 4 of these guys. These are 4 of my favorite receivers. Andy Behrens knows this. I could go on and on and on about Jacoby Myers. Give me the time, but I know we don't have that kind of time here. I do think Terry McLaurin is in must-start territory in this matchup with the Chicago Bears. As Andy said, they are an unserious defense. They're lucky that the Denver Broncos are as bad as they are, or people would be looking at more of a critical eye like Matt Eberflus. What is it you do here? The targets are at least going to Terry McLaurin of late, so I think he is in must-start territory. These other 3 are really, really close. I do think Jacoby Myers ranks 4th for me here. I love Jacoby Myers, but Devontae Adams will be soaking up targets in that revenge game, and Jimmy G's still not out of the concussion protocol. So between Zay Flowers and Michael Pittman, I think I'm going to go Michael Pittman here. It's very close with Flowers, but Bateman's going to play most likely. Odell Beckham got a limited practice in. So I think Michael Pittman, I know he had a slow outing last week, but the targets are there for him, and he's been balling out with Anthony Richardson, who's kind of tearing it up at this point.
You're forgetting that Aiden O'Connell's going to come in on Monday night and dominate. It's fine. Let's get to the next question.
Get a pass rush or a contract extension. That's what Aiden O'Connell's going to do.
It's too soon. All right. Terry says, who sits? Need only 2. Kamara, Kyron Williams, Mostert, or Brian Robinson? PPR. Ask FFL. All right. What do you think? What do you got on this one, Andy?
Yeah, well, we're going to be starting pretty much all commanders in all of these questions, I think, tonight. I am definitely starting Brian Robinson here. There's a very clean path for him to finish as a top 5 fantasy back this week. It's a great spot for him. Again, the Bears give up the 2nd most fantasy points to opposing running backs. He's looked really good this year, so he's an easy one for me. I'm also gonna tentatively start Kyron Williams here. He's a little bit banged up, but he's been, again, one of the focal points of that Rams offense. It's not the best matchup, but just in terms of workload, in terms of volume, I absolutely trust him.
All right, let's get Holly's question up coming next. This is question number 3, comes from Holly. Need 2 in the PPR. Addison, Warren, London, Laporta. Ask FFL. All right, what do you think, Harmon, on this one? I'm not going to ask Andy because I'm mad at him about Sam Laporta. So, and Andy's on Sam Laporta probation. Probation is going to be that nickname.
Well, and you're going to get an unbiased source here on Sam Laporta. And I mean, crazy as it is, I think he's the best guy of this bunch here. I mean, Sam Laporta is just tearing it up. Tight end in the flex. You don't always love it, but you love Sam Laporta and you love that usage. I want to know who your tight end 1 is, Holly. I mean, do you have Travis Kelce and Sam Laporta? Because shout out to you. Your league mates must absolutely hate you. Between these 2 other wide receivers here, because I think Jalen Warren's kind of a distant 4th. Again, this is tight. I think I will chase a ceiling with Jordan Addison, though. He's still got some kinks to iron out in his game. He does need to get a little better against press coverage. This is a tough defense, but high-scoring game, potentially getting loose for a touchdown here. I'll go for the ceiling play with Addison.
I love it. All right, so now we got to break down what it looks like when certain players come back. And in fact, when you start talking about running backs coming back, all eyes are on Jonathan Taylor's return to the Colts. Well, who better to tell us what to expect than Austin Eckler? This is what he had to say on Eckler's Edge.
I remember my hamstring 3 years ago, where it was like, we're kind of ease you into it. And I was ready to go. I pretty much played the entire game. They're like, you're good. If you feel good, you go. And so it might be one of those where it's like, okay, like JT, let's see how you feel. Let's, get you back into practice, all of that. But if he's ready to go, they might start giving this man the full workload. It's just missing that much time, missing all of training camp, because you could do a bunch of drills at home, but you can't simulate the speed of the game, doing the actual full speed reads, the sudden quickness, the unexpected people flying around, getting hit, getting tackled in awkward positions. So it takes a while to get your feet underneath you. Not saying it takes forever. I mean, he's still a player, still very productive. But regardless, I want to see my man on the field because, man, yeah, he's one of the guys that's leading the way for us in the running back position, and not having him on the field just hurts the game in general because he's so dynamic and fun to watch.
Welcome back to Fantasy Football Live. All right, the message boards are blowing up in the fantasy app. Get in on the conversation in the discuss tab. Some of the top running backs people are commenting on right now. You see it in front of her. I love this one on Devon Achane. Sam says his 10 YPC is sustainable. He's one of the best talents this league has seen in a while. He could easily run for 2,000 this year on half the touches AP had. Okay, look, I love it. I want it. We all want it. But Harmon, come on, let's talk some sense into everybody on what's reasonable here.
Hey, Sam, buddy, 10 yards per carry. No, it's not sustainable. I think Devon Achane is legit. The contact balance this guy has for a sub 190-pound back, at least sub 200. I don't know what he's weighing in these days. Weight fluctuates. We all know this. But he's a smaller back. But, man, he can take hits. He can stay upright running through traffic. Nevertheless, he's not averaging 10 yards per carry the rest of the season. He's not like Jamal Charles 2X. You know what I'm saying? Like he's a 2 times version of Jamal Charles. But he's a good player, and I agree his overall fantasy value is sustainable. But he's not running for 2,000 yards on half the carries that AP had.
I don't know, though. I don't know why you hate nice things, Andy. Like, come on, let's get some sort of historic result out of this. Let's have a little fun.
I'm all for a running back reaching 2,000 yards. I just don't think Achane would be my guess. He's really fun though, and to Matt's point, man, they're like really comfortable using a 5'8", 189-pound guy on the goal line because he keeps shedding tacklers on the goal line. Like he's just been great in tight spaces. I have nothing bad to say about him, except I don't think, again, like Harmon, that he's going to come in around 10 yards per carry.
Well, one running back that obviously is always a beautiful delight to watch is Christian McCaffrey, and that takes us to a huge discussion about the biggest game of the week. We're not here just for Thursday Night Football. We're here for the entire weekend of fantasy football, and the Sunday night one is a gem. It is a delight. We've got the Cowboys at 3-1 taking on the 49ers at 4-0, and when you look at this game, there's so much on the line. Andy, what are you looking at from this game? What's one thing you got your eye on?
Yeah, well, I think we have to start with McCaffrey, right? And maybe, I don't know, he's not even an open question in fantasy anymore. He finds the end zone every week. He's marvelous every week. It's just more an appreciation. He's played at least 85% of the snaps in 3 of 4 games this year, which is very much like the Carolina years and not really at all like his usage in San Francisco last season. At his current pace, he would break Chris Johnson's single season record for scrimmage yards, which is over 2,500. It is a ridiculous total. So this is like an old school LaDainian Tomlinson, Priest Holmes, Arian Foster sort of season that is underway right now in the year 2023, in the year of the committee. If he can just stay healthy, he's looking at like 20 to 25 touchdowns. I'm not sure that 400 regular season touches is in the actual best interest of the Niners this year or McCaffrey himself, but that seems to be where we're headed.
I don't disagree with you, and it brings me to something that I've seen out of this, and I just want to change the discussion point on. In general, not even from a fantasy football standpoint, but just from football in general. Let's stop talking about Brock Purdy like he might be the answer and just start acknowledging that he is. And I love this qualifier everybody seems to have of like, well, it has nothing to do with Brock Purdy. It's everything to do with the coach. Well, okay. And last time I checked, they still lost in the NFC Championship game last year, right? Like they did not advance to the Super Bowl because they didn't have a capable quarterback. Brock Purdy looks better than Jimmy G did in this offense last year. And frankly, it no longer matters why he is who he is. He is who he is. At some point, it feels like Voltron to me. This is the analogy I keep making. Like Voltron was about none of the one robots. It was all all of the robots together to make one big, ginormous, ass-kicking robot. So maybe Brock Purdy on his own is just a robot. But Brock Purdy in this system with these weapons, which is his reality every single day, is part of Voltron. And there ain't no way to beat Voltron unless you're into Transformers, which I was. The point being, let's stop talking about Brock Purdy for being the last pick in the draft like this is something that's not going to sustain, and start acknowledging that the 49ers have their franchise quarterback. They have their guy for the next 10 years. They are going to be great with that quarterback that they have because they will put the right offense and weapons around him. I think it's time to change that entire conversation. Matt, what do you have on your mind?
Yeah, first of all, can we just thank the football gods that this is the Sunday night game? I mean, we've had to mess around with a lot of Giants in prime time lately. I mean, yikes. This game, though, super excited. The thing I'm most excited to see in this game is I think we're finally going to get a glimpse of the Dallas Cowboys offense in a normal game. I mean, 3 out of the 4 games here, they have just completely wiped the floor with the aforementioned Giants, with the Zach Wilson New York Jets in his first start, and, whatever the hell they got going on there in New England at this point. We did see them with the Arizona Cardinals, but that was a weird classic Cowboys game, where they go on the road and they disappoint. Weird stat here with the Cowboys. They have run an average of 7.6 plays per drive, and they have the most time per drive. Both those figures obviously lead all NFL teams. Yet they've had the second best average field position in the NFL because their defense continues to get them good field position. So, again, all these weird factors with the Cowboys offense right now. I want to see if CeeDee Lamb can have a monster game. Can Tony Pollard punch in a couple of touchdowns? I think whatever we think about the Cowboys offense going into this game, we will feel very differently, and I think something closer to the truth coming out of this game.
I love what you're saying there, and there's a lot to prove, but it takes us to our primetime picks because this game is part of the primetime picks that we'll be making. Now, if you're new to the show, it's a very simple concept. We are going to pick one player from each of the primetime games. We're going to go through it in snake draft style, and you see the standings there. I think the whole thing's rigged at this point. It's apparent that Andy Behrens has paid somebody off. That's the only take here. Andy wins last week. That puts him in first place overall. I don't know, Harmon. Is there any sort of credit we can give to somebody else? Do we have to give Behrens credit? I don't know.
I'm sorry, you have gone from violin solos to this game is rigged in 1 week. Is that really happening? Okay. All right.
You know what? Fine. That is a fair point. Andy's on the clock first. You know how this is going to work, and this is going to go. Actually, Matt's on the clock first. I'm sorry, Matt finished third.
Yeah, then it would be rigged. Okay, if Andy's in first place and he gets to pick first, then it would be rigged. Please, Fitz, let this big loser take the first pick in the draft, and I'll go ahead and take a big winner here. I got to take Christian McCaffrey in the Sunday night game. This guy, as Andy Behrens said, he's on a LaDainian Tomlinson type of pace, getting unreal usage, unreal touchdown potential. Yeah, go ahead and give me Christian McCaffrey at the top pick here.
That's fine. Didn't I get my ass kicked the week I picked Christian McCaffrey? I'm just saying, could be a bad sign. I'm changing my strategy up this week. I'm not thinking about anything other than who's the one guy I trust right now available on the board, no matter the game, to get me the most points. And I don't care who's playing quarterback. The one thing that's become apparent is that Devontae Adams is going to get 472 balls thrown his way. Every single week, that seems to be the offenses. I'm going to throw to Devontae somehow and hope to God that he makes this team competitive. I don't think, even with the shoulder, even with the questionable, even with everything everybody tells me, Devontae was still powerful in that game after the shoulder injury. He will be fine on Monday night. Devontae Adams will give me all of the points and all of the love and will vault me to a victory in this one. So I confidently run to the podium with Devontae Adams. Andy, who do you got?
Oh, sure. You could take chalky picks like these guys. I'm gonna go Brian Robinson here. Obviously, playing tonight, I shouldn't need to explain this again. The Bears have been terrible defensively, right? They're giving up 1 million fantasy points per week to the running back position. And Robinson's been really good. 4 touchdowns already on the season, probably another 1 or 2 tonight. Over 13% of his runs have gone for 10 or more yards. This is a really good season in progress, and he's going to light it up here. And then my next pick on the way back, I'm going to go Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard, I'm begging for a couple of touchdowns, as Herman mentioned not that long ago. He leads all backs in red zone carries by a mile. He's also on pace for 60-plus receptions on the season. He's going to be heavily involved in this game no matter how it goes. If Kyren Williams can have a big day against San Francisco, I believe Pollard can as well.
This continues the trend of Barron's treating this like this is fantasy from 15 years ago. Like he's just like stacking it, running back, and I'm over here being like, I got this new fam. Like I'm just gonna keep going wide receivers. I'm torn on what wide receiver to take. Obviously, I need to take somebody in the Sunday Night Football game here. I'm going to go with CeeDee Lamb, and I feel like whatever decision I make is going to be the wrong one, right? Like I've either got the choice of going with CeeDee Lamb or I can go with Ayuk is going to be. It's like I'm torn between the two. I don't know what to do. So you know what? I'll go with CeeDee, and I'll take my lumps if I'm wrong.
Honestly, the only thing that made me nervous about taking CMC at 1 was I was really nervous one of you boys was going to take Brandon Ayuk, and I hate to lose to top 5 NFL wide receiver Brandon Ayuk, one of my guys. So I'll go with another one of my guys here in the Thursday night game. I will go with Terry McLaurin, coming off a big game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Andy Behrens has told you many, many times, Boomer Behrens over there has told you many times why the Bears stink on defense. I will go ahead and chase Terry McLaurin, catching heaters from Sam Howell. And finally, let's stick with this theme of, hurting people with the things they love. And I'll go ahead and take Josh Jacobs.
Come on!
And he's going to punch in a couple of touchdowns against the Green Bay Packers. He has more rushing or receiving yards and rushing yards this year. It's about time they get it going on the ground. Why not the team that just gave up a monster performance against the Detroit Lions on Thursday night?
I don't disagree with you. And by the way, if you beat me because Josh Jacobs went off, that probably means the Raiders won on Monday Night Football. And if the Raiders win on Monday Night Football, look, don't you do that to me, okay? I'm too fragile right now. You know what? I'm going to take the opposite approach. I'm going to come in and I'm going to give a warm hug to the entire group with my next pick, because certainly that means the only game left for me to pick is Thursday Night Football. And you might think that I would go with Jahan Dotson, who I have in every one of my lineups. No, I'm not going to go with Jahan Dotson in this game. I'm going to go with DJ Moore. I'm going to trust that a little bit of the magic that was unleashed last week can be replicated this week. DJ Moore is about the only guy that Justin Fields could even possibly throw to. He's going to get a bunch of targets in this game. Maybe busted play, maybe a lucky touchdown. And mostly, I'm trying to show a little love to Barons here. I'm taking a bear in this, and it's a big old bear hug. See what I did there, Andy?
Oh, it's about time the Bears hurt somebody other than me on this show. I'm excited for this. That's great. I love this journey for you, Fitz. I really do. I'm gonna continue the sort of boomer theme here, and I'm gonna keep drafting like it's 1995. I'm gonna take another running back. I'm gonna go Aaron Jones. This didn't work out very well for me last week, but I brought it home anyway. I'm going to try to forgive and forget that performance because it was a barely competitive game for the Packers. Jones is still the centerpiece of this offense. He was so good in week 1. He's back at practice. I think he has a good night against the Raiders.
The only thing better than this contest is the trash talking that it has created between all of us. You guys can chime in on social media. Let us know who you like the most. Let us know who you think's going to win. If Andy wins, there's going to be a big revolt, though. He is up 1, so now all of our backs against the wall, and we're a little bit scared. As a collective group, I'm going to admit we're a little scared. I'm never scared to get the opportunity to check in with Sal Vetri. Each week, he offers up unique fantasy advice here on the show. So we're going to check in with Sal now to get his 7 key findings for Week 5, which includes a surprising Saints nugget. Check this out.
Today, we are breaking down the 7 key findings that'll help you win your fantasy matchup in Week 5. Finding number 1 is something to watch. Now, you need to monitor Derek Carr's shoulder injury after he surprisingly played last week. But Carr playing through this injury was actually bad news for his pass catchers, as he averaged a season-low 3.4 yards per attempt. And even more worrisome, he averaged less than 1 air yard per throw. So basically, all he was doing was throwing checkdowns and screen passes. This explains why Alvin Kamara saw 14 targets, but Derek Carr's receivers totaled just 90 yards, and Chris Olave had just 1 catch for 4 yards. If Carr starts this week against the Patriots' top 10 defense, consider starting your Saints not named Kamara. Finding number 2 is the best spot of the week. And this takes us to Breece Hall, who has been the Jets' main running back, seeing 50% of the rush attempts the past 2 games. And he's not getting much competition. Dalvin Cook only played 25% of the snaps last week and ranks dead last in yards per carry amongst qualified backs. This week, Breece Hall gets the best matchup you can find against the Denver Broncos, who allowed over 120 total yards yards to Khalil Herbert last week. Expect Hall to take advantage of this matchup as he ranks second in yards per touch this season. Finding number 3 takes us to the pickup in play of the week. This player is Cowboys tight end Jake Ferguson, who has seen his usage increase every week. He ran 70% of the routes in week 4 and earned 7 targets. And this guy has been a great player whenever he sees usage. He was top 10 in tight end efficiency last season, and so far this year ranks second at earning targets. And just a reminder, Dalton Schultz was a top 10 fantasy tight end the last 2 years in this Dallas offense, and Jake Ferguson is a better talent. You can start him this week. Finding number 4 takes us to a new workhorse running back, and this will be DeAndre Swift, who this week saw his usage increase dramatically, playing 64% of the snaps. And more importantly, he handled 75% of the Eagles' running back opportunities. Kenneth Gainwell only saw 4 carries in week 4. Swift has earned the 6th most running back points these past 3 games, and he's benefiting from running behind the number 1 run blocking unit in the NFL. He is a top 10 running back not just this week, but the rest of the year. Finding number 5 takes us to a player who is trending up, and this is Giants wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson, who was limited in week 3 when he made his debut, only running 25% of the routes. But he earned an insane 5 targets on just his 9 routes run in week 3, and then saw his usage increase this past week in week 4. Wan'Dale ran the 2nd most routes on the team, and he ended up earning 6 targets. Now this week, the Giants are 11-point underdogs against the Dolphins' 22nd ranked secondary. Expect a lot of passing for the Giants and targets for Robinson. Finding number 6 takes us to the sketchy spot of the week, and this is the Rams running back Kyren Williams, who has been great. In 3 games as the clear starter, he's played 90% of the snaps and averaged 22 opportunities a game. But this week, he's a 4-point underdog against the Eagles' number 1 run defense. For the 2nd straight year, Philadelphia's defensive line is elite. It's actually their back 7 you can take advantage of, as they lost their starting 2 linebackers in free agency and their secondary is banged up. The Eagles rank 22nd in coverage and have allowed big passing days to guys like Mac Jones and Sam Howell. Expect the Rams to find success in the air, where Kyren Williams is a good pass catcher, but his red zone role and his rushing role is sketchy this week. Finding number 7 takes us to the dream quarterback spot, and this is Kirk Cousins, who finds himself in the best spot out of any quarterback this week. The Vikings are 5-point underdogs in the best game environment on the slate against the Chiefs. Despite being underdogs, the Vikings still have a solid 24-point team total, and this is historically the best spot for quarterbacks because it implies there'll be a lot of points and the Vikings will have to throw to keep up. In 7 similar spots in his career, Kirk Cousins averages 25 fantasy points and 309 yards. So these are the 7 key findings for this week. All you have to do now is take this information and use it against your opponent in week 5.
All right, Sal hanging out with me now, man. I appreciate it. And look, I always listen to this so intently, and I think for everybody else, but forget the rest of the world. I'm going to ask you a personal question here about this one, because Breece Hall, you talked about Breece, and I got Breece in all my leagues. The problem is I just have a hard time trusting anything the Jets do. When you're looking at Breece, as much as you found the 7 key findings, does the lack of consistent production at the quarterback position play into how you view Breece at all?
Yeah, I think it has to be a factor. Like when you're drafting Breece this offseason, you're looking at him as a 3rd-round pick, and that's taken into account the potential injury that he was coming off of. But now you get thrown in no quarterback, no Aaron Rodgers, and yeah, he's not that same type of player. He's probably now like a 5th or a 6th-round value. So we have all that in mind, but this is the exact time that all the doctors were saying he should be good to go, 100% explosiveness back. And now we're getting positive words from Robert Saleh. There's no snap count. The other running backs are being less involved. Dalvin Cook, season low usage last week. So everything is trending up for Breece Hall when it should be. You have to keep in mind the quarterback situation, but that's kind of already baked in since the week 1 Aaron Rodgers injury.
You guys can find more of Sal, obviously, on the Yahoo Fantasy app throughout the weekend. Follow him on social media at Sal Vetri DFS. Sal now going to bring in with the rest of the guys as we go through a little play calling. We get your questions in, and we'll get them answered with the experts. Sal, you get to be on the clock first on this one. Let's get the question from IDK coming in. IDK asking 1 PPR, and the question is Brandon Ayuk, Zay Flowers, Jalen Waddle. What do you think on this one, Sal?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and kind of slam dunk this one in with Brandon Ayuk. He's played 2 full healthy games, and he's seen a 31% and 29% target share. Those are elite numbers. He's now played about a dozen games with Brock Purdy. He's been his wide receiver 1, averaging about 15 fantasy points. All of this is fantastic, except the matchup against the Dallas Cowboys. But the Cowboys have played 1 average to above average to surprisingly good offense in the Arizona Cardinals. They beat them. They dropped 28 points. They were able to move the ball up and down the field. I feel pretty confident that Kyle Shanahan could do the same with Brandon Ayuk as top receiver, so that's where I'll be going, Brandon Ayuk.
All right, let's keep the questions coming, and the next one will go to Matt, and this one comes from Scotty. Great picture on that one. Puka and Kupp, when healthy, can they both coexist in a roster that starts 2 wide receivers and 1 flex? Harmon, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the important thing here, and we have to keep reiterating it with Puka Nacua, is that he is not playing in Cooper Kupp's role. He has not been that big slot receiver. He's been an outside guy for them. He's played a little bit of X. He's played a little bit of flanker. He has his own defined position in this offense that I think, number one, should, and number two, has to remain a part of the game plan here for the LA Rams because he's been simply too good. Stafford has too much trust in him. I don't always love rostering 2 receivers from the same team unless it is hyper concentrated, which I think is possible for LA. So you could explore like a trade opportunity here, but simply put from a football perspective, these 2 can absolutely coexist with each other.
This is too much fun to not now get Andy into the fun. Let's bring the next question up, and it comes from Roger Rabbit, not the Roger Rabbit, but a different Roger Rabbit, asking Josh Reynolds, P. Ryan, Hubbard in the flex full PPR. Thanks, #AskFFL. What do you think, Andy?
Well, first of all, Hubbard would be really going out of your way to get a share of the Carolina offense, and there's no need to do it. I'd go Josh Reynolds here. He's played great. He's played absolutely great. He had a couple of highlight catches in that Green Bay game. He has long-time rapport with Jared Goff going back to the Rams days, right? Reynolds is playing just outstanding football right now. He's seen 6 targets per game more often than not. In terms of actual volume, it's been fine. Now we've got Amon-Ra St. Brown a little bit banged up, missing practices. There's a really good chance that Josh Reynolds sees pretty significant volume in this one.
All right, Harmon, you are back up to bat with the next question on the Ask FFL as we help you out here. Cheeto Chip, we're going to say it that way. Who has more upside in PPR, Cam Akers or Jameson Williams? Asked another way, would you drop Cam, who's just a bench stash, for Williams now? My wide receiver group is better than my running backs. Thanks. Thanks for the in-depth question, by the way, Cheeto Chip. What do you got on this one?
Who has more upside? I think if Cam Akers takes the job in Minnesota, he would certainly have more difference-making potential in fantasy football. I think obviously a former first-round pick in Jameson Williams theoretically has more individual player upside, but there's just a lot of hurdles for Jameson to overcome here. We have barely seen him play in the NFL. The last time we were getting reports about him before the suspension, they were not good. He was banged up. He was having to play deep in the preseason to kind of shake even more rust off. I do think the answer is Cam Akers here. Both of them are purely stashes to me, not guys you can really consider playing. I think I would just rather take the running back in a productive offense here. So yeah, give me Cam Akers on this one.
All right, Sal, we're going to put you back on the clock to help somebody up. And this is just for this week. Craig wants to know, Burrow, I can't believe I'm asking this, Burrow or Fields? That's where Burrow has come to. But we're talking about tonight, Justin Fields versus this weekend, Joe Burrow. Sal, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to take, this is a close one. Projection-wise, they're pretty similar. I'm going to take Justin Fields. Look, the Bengals have a better matchup. Arizona's 30th ranked secondary. They have a by far better team total. Vegas expects them to score more points, 5 more projected points for that offense. But Burrow is not right. Last week, 165 scoreless yards against a Titans defense that wants you to throw the ball on them. Now he doesn't have T. Higgins. This isn't a vote of confidence for Justin Fields in his play tonight, but he's healthy. He has a little bit of upside in terms of his mobility and a floor with that as well. So I'll take Fields. You can watch him tonight if that helps you get to Friday as well.
I can't believe I'm shook. I'm shook that we're even saying this, but you're right. Yeah, I get it. All right, let's get one more in from Pedro. Pedro, Andy, you can chime in on this one. Pedro go Nico Collins, Isaiah Pacheco, Deebo Samuel for the flex. Thanks, guys. #FFL. What do you got on this one, Andy?
First of all, I love that while Sal is recommending Justin Fields, he also disavows him. He's like, I know he's not good. I know he's not good. That was the only proper way to answer that question. Yeah, it was fine. That was a veteran move right there. Please don't put this on my permanent record. I'm going to go Pacheco here. I just the game environment is too good. I don't have anything bad to say about the other guys here. I don't have anything bad to say about Nico Collins, certainly. But, man, Pacheco is in a game environment where we could see 50-plus points easily. He's been a workhorse. He looked fantastic last week. So Pacheco for me by actually a pretty comfortable margin.
Welcome back to Fantasy Football Live. Andy Behrens, Matt Harmon, I'm Jason Fitz. We're going to take a look at the injury report coming out of practices today. Get you caught up on who we're monitoring for the weekend. Got some big names on this one, obviously. T. Higgins, ribs, hasn't practiced this week. Saquon, ankle, still limited in practice, missed the past 2 weeks. Amon-Ra St. Brown, abdomen, didn't practice this week. Javonte Williams, quad injury, missed practice on Wednesday, was limited today. So a lot here, obviously, as we've got to figure out what all this looks like. Saquon, guys, I don't know how the Giants season could go any more off the rails, but it just looks like if you have Saquon here, you're flailing just like the Giants are.
Yeah, let's hope that he plays, right? Like, he's back at practice, which is a really good sign. They absolutely need a win, and man, the opponent could not be more challenging, could not be more difficult this week. So, like, they're going to have to put up a number to hang with Miami, and he's clearly the key to the offense. So I'm relatively optimistic that he plays, and they're going to wear him out if he does.
Yeah, 2 words that Giants fans are no longer saying, relatively optimistic. Okay, remember, by the way, everybody, we have another London game this week, Jags-Bills. So plan accordingly. You got to get your lineup set. If you're like me, Saturday night's getting a little crazy. You might want to set it Saturday night before you get going. And obviously, this week becomes the first week of what we all have to deal with now for far too long, the byes. All right, 4 teams are on the byes. The Browns, the Chargers, the Seahawks, the Bucks. And before we get into some of these situations, I just want to quickly, if you'll allow me 2 seconds here, Harmon, I am going to fix the NFL. All you have to do is you go 8 weeks in. You go 8 weeks into the season, everybody plays. After the 8th week, everybody takes a week off. In the middle of the season, whole league takes a week off. There's no football. You replay one of those off-season things where the quarterbacks throw into trash cans 60 yards away from Hawaii. You show fat guys playing tic-tac-toe with their children. I don't care. You go in, you give us some weird entertaining content for 1 week off, and then everybody plays the rest of the season. We can end all of this for all of us, and we can end the misery of bye weeks with one change, Harmon. Just let me fix this.
Well, number one, I appreciate you asking me my permission before you just went ahead on that soliloquy there. And, even though I didn't grant it, I'm sure you said what you said. I speak for every fantasy analyst in the world. We love the bye weeks, okay? I know it can create difficult player decisions, but yeah, when you get to ice out 4 teams when you're doing your preview article or your preview podcast, when you got to me, Andy knows when you got to me write an article where you're previewing every single game. I'm pro bye weeks, okay? 4 teams wiped off the board, 2 games wiped off the board. We keep the bye weeks. I don't need that little contest you're talking about. We'll keep the bye weeks. Thank you.
This is just, I'm disappointed. I'm not even mad. I'm just disappointed at both of you. All right, help everybody out. Everybody needs the help here. Andy, let's take a look at some spot starts in the bye week. Is there somebody out there that you like at the running back position that could come in this week for somebody to help us out?
Yeah, I know he's been on your bench for a lot of the season, but this is the week to start Gus Edwards. This is a prime Gus Bus week coming up here. First of all, he's coming off a 17-touch game. He is the top option right now in the Baltimore backfield with Justice Hill playing through a toe injury. This week, he gets a Pittsburgh defense that ranks 29th against the run, that has given up at least 80 scrimmage yards to some running back or other absolutely every week this year. It is hard to believe that the run won't be in play for Baltimore all day at Pittsburgh. So I think we get close to 20 touches here. Very good chance that Edwards finds the end zone.
All right, Matt, what about you? Who's the running back you've got your eye on?
Yeah, look, I don't want to have my eye on the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, and to steal an Andy Barron's phrase, I don't want to find new and creative ways to invest in the Matt Canada offense, but alas, here we are. It is the bye week, so I'm going to go ahead and say, if you are desperate at the running back position, and hey, who among us isn't desperate at the running back position, you can go ahead and plug in Jaylen Warren of the Pittsburgh Steelers here in what should be a bit of a slop fest. Kenny Pickett is apparently gonna play in this game. I saw him take that hit last week and I was like, oh boy, serious knee injury for Kenny Pickett, but apparently not. Jaylen Warren has a 15.2% target share on the season, which is pretty outrageous when you have George Pickens, when, Pat Fryermuth's been involved. I know Deontay Johnson isn't playing, but yeah, it's because this Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line is almost as bad as Matt Canada's route concepts, and they can't pass protect. So we got to dump the ball down to Jaylen Warren, who's an explosive adjacent player. So look, with this ringing endorsement, I'm telling you, if you're in trouble at the running back position this week, you can go ahead and plug in Jaylen Warren.
Explosive adjacent might be my favorite phrase you've used in our time working together. This is great. All I keep thinking about is like sometimes, in the mornings, because I work out, I'm going to Orange Theory, right? Sometimes you get on the treadmill, you don't really feel like running. Yeah, I know, I don't ever talk about it. But here's the funny thing. Sometimes when I get on the treadmill, I look at the person next to me and I just say, hey, you know what? Something's better than nothing, right? That's what I tell myself when I don't feel like working out. I feel like if you're putting Jaylen Warren in your lineup this week, you're just like, something's better than nothing. Let's just see what we can get there. All right, let's keep the fun going here, looking at some spot starts, and we'll take a look at the wide receiver position here. Andy, who do you have at the wide receiver position, sir, that you've got your eye on in this game?
Yeah, give me Romeo Doubs here. He's actually still available in almost 30% of Yahoo leagues. That is despite being the overall wide receiver 16 on the season. Man has seen 25 targets over the past 2 games, which is like Puka Nacua level usage. Doubs has also made 3 house calls so far in 4 games. And this week, he gets what I'm not calling it a friendly matchup, but many are calling it a friendly matchup against the Raiders. That is a defense that's already given up 8 passing scores on the season, so really good chance that Doubs finds the end zone again, maybe gives us 5 catches.
I have no comment. Matt, do you want to give us a wide receiver that you're looking at this weekend?
Oh, absolutely. Andy stole my thunder a little bit when talking about Josh Reynolds. Everybody's excited about Jameson Williams' return, and I'm happy that he's back 2 games early because I really want to see what this guy's all about. But I know what Josh Reynolds is about. He's a vertical receiver on the outside for this team. And Jared Goff, rather quietly, leads all quarterbacks to start multiple games in adjusted completion percentage on throws of 20-plus yards, according to Pro Football Focus. Jared Goff is at home. He plays great at home. They're 10-point favorites. Amon-Ra St. Brown, as Andy mentioned, is a little banged up. All the juice can't go to Sam Laporta. I think Josh Reynolds can get a little bit going outside. He has been, just a Jared Goff favorite, as Andy Barron said earlier. Sneaky productive. Still was under 40% rostered coming into this week. I think Josh Reynolds, if you're hurting at wide receiver, get a guy who is locked in with Jared Goff at this point.
All right, let's take a look at the tight end position then. Andy, is there a tight end you've got your eye on?
Obviously tight end is kind of a nightmare position in fantasy unless you've got, it's really only the Kelsey and the Laporta managers who are content right now. So just get it out of the way on Thursday, and then you don't have to think about it on the weekend. That would be my strategy.
All right, we'll go to fantasy face-off here. We're going to go to fantasy face-off.
I'm not required to be given tight ends. That was not on the assignments, okay? That is for veteran Andy Barron's here.
Look, I just wanted to make sure that you had the chance to tight end chime in. That's all. Okay, let's move to fantasy face-off. Me and Matt are going to hang out here. We're going to give you an idea of top pickup. Jaleel McLaughlin, Denver, has been a top pickup. So I'm going to do this, top pickup, I should say. I'm going to give you either or going through, right? So I'm going to give you the choice between Jaleel McLaughlin or Khalil Herbert.
Ooh, I do love Andy Barron's advice of, just getting it out of the way. Just let's see the results on Thursday. That's a veteran move by Barron's. I'm going to go ahead and say Khalil Herbert in this one because, again, as much as the Roschon Johnson bros have been loud and proud with those garbage time targets, he's kind of dominated this backfield, especially last week against these Denver Broncos. So I think that continues. It's not an ideal matchup necessarily. The Commanders' front pass rush is really good. They stop the run pretty well. But again, I think Khalil Herbert's got a pretty good receiving floor here, and he's got decent odds at a touchdown. I'll go with him in this matchup.
I just like Roschon Bros to be Robros moving forward. I'm just, nicknames for everybody.
Roche Bros.
Roche Bros. Yeah, that's good. We should coin that. We'll make shirts. Jaleel McLaughlin versus Tyler Algier. What do you think?
Ooh, this one I am going to go with Jaleel McLaughlin here. Again, I think he's a Sean Payton guy, right? We've seen him get usage even before Javonte Williams went down. We'll see if Javonte ends up playing. But the snaps have kind of ticked down for Tyler Algier every single week. 56% in week 1, then 44%, 30%, and then 26% last week. That's because Arthur Smith is just like you and I, okay? Every time we see Bijan Robinson with the football in his hands, we're like, yeah, I'm gonna want to see a little bit more of that. I'm going to need to see a little bit more of that. So I think we've got the usage trending down for Tyler Algier here. So I'll go with Jaleel McLaughlin on this one.
Let's get you one more. McLaughlin or Miles Sanders?
Oh, God. Miles Sanders is like just burning a hole in my running back 2 or flex spot on a few rosters. And I mean, I think you kind of have to hate start Miles Sanders in this one if Javonte Williams doesn't play. Now, if Williams is out, then you can go ahead and throw Jaleel in there with confidence. I mean, Miles Sanders is banged up too. They're not running the ball well at all down there in Carolina. They're not really doing anything down there well in Carolina at this point. Frank Reich seems to be out of answers other than dialing up plays for 33-year-old Adam Thielen. I get, like I said, if Javonte is in, I think you just hate start Miles Sanders and close your app for the afternoon. But if he's out, then I think you go McLaughlin.
All right, that was solid work by you, my friend. You get to take a little break now because Chris Allen of Fantasy Live is going to join the show, talk about surprising quarterbacks and a potential drop candidate.
Oh man, we got a great guest today in fantasy community. I mean, they're all great, but come on, today is special. Very happy to be joined by Chris Allen, who you know is part of the amazing team at Fantasy Life. You can find him at fantasylife.com. You can also find him on social media at Chris Allen FFWX. Chris, let's deal with some of this bye week nonsense right at the top. No Justin Herbert this week, no Deshaun Watson. Who are a couple of quarterbacks who've impressed you so far, who we can confidently start maybe this week and beyond?
I mean, if there's one quarterback that anyone can feel comfortable in starting in, it has to be CJ Stroud, right? I mean, so far, the Texans rookie, both of the rookies, actually, like when they went both defense and then offense, like in the first round, I mean, Stroud has really shown up from a passing perspective, like so far in terms of being able to, drive the ball downfield, eclipsing over 300 yards and like in over half of the starts so far this season. And also the mobility as well. I mean, we thought coming into 2023 that, given his size, like general athleticism, the way he tested at the combine, that while he wouldn't be, let's say, a Lamar Jackson or, a Jalen Hurts like type of rusher, mobility would be a part of his game. We've seen that so far in 2023. Now, I understand with them losing yet another offensive lineman to injury, there might be some concerns like for CJ Stroud, but given the matchup for this weekend, I think he should be considered, at the very least, a fringe top 12 option. And also, looking at the rest of the season, he should be an every week starter.
Yeah, I love that call. One thing that we like to do when we have guests on the show is to make them talk about potential drops because we're too cowardly to do it ourselves. So let me give you a couple names that were buzzy during draft season, who might be on the discard pile right now. Let's talk Jackson Smith and Jigba and Elijah Moore. Are you holding or dropping in their bye?
I'm fine with dropping both of them at this point. JSN, I know he was the consensus wide receiver one for this class, joining a team where, passing was more or less like how they wanted to operate, like seeing Geno Smith in 2022, his comeback season, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, joining that duo, that was something that we wanted to see. And so far, JSN has, like, his skills have translated. Is he a dominant receiver? Yes. In terms of yards per separation, he's one of the top receivers in the game as of right now. Does the yards after catch ability, did that translate from college? Yeah, absolutely. For the rookie receivers right now, he ranks 5th, 6th in yards after catch per reception. But 3.2 air yards per target. It's him and Rondale Moore down at the bottom of the list in terms of how far, like what his depth of target is, like so far through 4 games. And considering he's still battling with not just DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, but Colby Parkinson, Will Dissly, both of the running backs as well. With Geno Smith having to use multiple options to get that offense to continue moving because of their offensive tackle situation, I'm hard pressed to hold JSN like through the bye week.
Yeah, and how are you feeling about Elijah Moore?
That's a difficult call right now, like for Elijah Moore. Seeing his like usage over the past 2 weeks, like after Nick Chubb went down, the thought process was going to be that, hey, they need to really start to up this passing game. Elijah Moore through the first 2 weeks, just over a 20% target share, so fitting in with most of the wide receiver 2s in the league. But after Nick Chubb went down, target share down, air yards per target went down, and even some of the rushing snaps that he was getting in the first couple of weeks, yeah, that was cool. And if he was going to continue doing that, and while we've still seen like 7 design rushing attempts for him over the past couple of weeks, if he's not getting the pass down work, if we're seeing more of Donovan Peoples-Jones, or we're seeing more of Cedric Tillman, like Cedric Tillman, David Njoku, Jerome Ford mixing into the passing game as well. If we're seeing more of those options start to be more prevalent, like for Deshaun Watson in a passing game that's been, I would say, uneven, let's say, just to characterize it at best, it's hard for me to, again, look at Elijah Moore as an every week option compared to some of the other guys that you might be able to pick up off the wire. Let's say like the Tank Dells from a couple of weeks ago and guys like that.
All right. You're one of the best in the game, Chris. Thanks so much for joining us. And find him at Fantasy Life. That's fantasylife.com.
All right, welcome back to Fantasy Football Live. But one of my favorite things here is to do numbers do lie, because sometimes in an analytics world, we love to freak out about numbers and find out that actually they're not telling the whole story. And in fact, you can find some great numbers in our Fantasy Plus. If you're out there, we're looking at some stats that may or may not tell the whole story about a player. Matt, give us something that you found that's a number that doesn't necessarily tell the story about a player.
Yeah, so Chris Olave is wide receiver 30 in fantasy right now, which doesn't sound so great. He's coming off a 1-catch outing, but he ranks 5th among all pass catchers in total air yards. This guy is getting the usage. He's getting downfield usage, but honestly, what I'd love to see more from Chris Olave, like I think we see the air yards, we're like, oh yeah, deep threat. Like, let's get this guy the ball down the field, which I don't know that your buddy Derek Carr is capable of doing right now, Fitz. You know, with 13 catches. Alvin Kamara's got to be the first player that gets 13 catches and immediately is upset about the offense, right? Which is what we saw last week. I think that Chris Olave, like, we need to see him get some more layup targets. That's what we really need out of this guy, because he's a do-it-all player. Like, he is the superstar in my eyes already. So let's see some more of that and not just the deep shots with Chris Olave.
All right, Andy, you're up. Give us a numbers don't lie, or numbers do lie that you've got your eye on.
Yeah, we've been hearing plenty of complaints, especially on social media, about Dameon Pierce. Pretty much everybody wants a refund on their Pierce investment. He's got only 1 touchdown so far on the season. He had another negated by penalty, but only 1. Here's the thing. He's actually got 13 red zone carries. That's the 9th most in the league right now. We like backs who get fed at the goal line generally. He's also tied to a top 10 NFL offense. Like, Houston is way ahead of schedule. CJ Stroud is playing great. I want a back in this situation. He's also coming off a 25-touch game. His offensive line is at least getting back to practice. We think they're getting healthier. I think that Dameon Pierce is an obvious buy right now, while everybody is pretty down on him. This guy's one of the most elusive backs in the league last year. Finished near the top of the missed tackle leaderboard, even though he missed 4 games. This is a really good player. I feel like the fantasy community is just getting restless with him.
No, count me among those, because he's on my bench and every week I just yell and scream. All right, Matt, give us one more that you found that numbers lie about.
Yeah, Breece Hall is 3rd in yards per carry among running backs with at least 15 carries on the season. One of those, by the way, is Austin Eckler, who's only played in 1 game. So, look, people think like, Breece Hall, the yards per carry is up. You just got to let him loose. We got to unleash him, right? Because he's back to full health. The yards per carry shows it. I'm not 100% convinced of that yet. I think what Breece Hall does really well at this point is, like, he gets north and south really well. He can explode downfield when he's got a lane. And we've seen that with some big runs, especially in prime time with Breece Hall. I think it's the lateral movement that we need to see. And apparently Robert Saleh is confident in it, saying that he's not going to be on a pitch count. As Sal mentioned earlier, the doctors are confident that this is the time when Breece Hall should be back. So again, I don't think we've seen the best of Breece Hall. In many ways, I'm telling you this number lies, and that actually the best could still be yet to come.
Yeah, I think it's also seared in our brain what we saw week 1. Remember, you can get all sorts of great advanced stats in Yahoo with Fantasy Plus. So go out there and check it out. This is now the time. It's my favorite time of the show. It's where we get to, I get to play quarterback here, and I get to just feed the guys the ball. It's time for a little hurry-up offense. You guys know we do it, put 25 seconds on the clock. I take as long as possible to read the question just to try and pinch the guys in, because what we really want is to see the whistle go off. Harmon, you know this is your favorite. Come on. Like, they need to give me a whistle. All right, Harmon gets to go first. Robert Simmons says, would you trade Keenan Allen and Evan Ingram for Travis Kelce in a half PPR league with 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 2 flex start? Woo.
Yeah, I love this segment because I've literally never had the whistle blown on me, and I'm going to keep this real quick. No, I don't think you do it. I think Keenan Allen at this point is too valuable with this many flex spots. I'm going to want to keep him on my roster.
Oh, and he keeps it going. You know what? I'm telling you guys, get me a whistle next week. Lisa says, hashtag ask FFL. Start Ferg or Waller? Sigh. Andy, what do you think?
Oh, big, heavy sigh. Yeah. And death is not an option. There's no great choice here, right? Darren Waller, one of the most disappointing players in the game from a fantasy perspective so far, and he would still be my answer here in that game against Miami. Like, at least they try to get him the ball sometimes. I'm going Waller here. I think it's mostly hopeless for Ferguson.
So some things never change in the show. Harmon always gets a whistle. Andy never does. Gravy Train Meatboat. God, that's a good name. Asks Nico Collins or Debo at the flex. I started Nico 2 weeks ago when he got 6 and started Debo last week when he got 0.6. Hashtag ask FFL. What do you think, Matt?
Oh, it's Nico Collins, baby. Look, the usage has been great in almost every game except the one you started him in. Don't worry, it's not going to happen this time. Debo is not 100% healthy at this point. Go with Nico.
Son of a biscuit. I really tried to ask that thing slow to get him caught. All right, Andy, you're up. The only mark I know is Maker's Mark. All right, Madison, Thielen, Ridley in the flex. What do you got, Andy?
Oh, I just can't do it with Thielen. I know the numbers have been there. I just can't quite do it. I'm going to go Alexander Madison here. Don't love the matchup for Ridley. Don't necessarily love the way he's been playing. Madison, again, is tied to that game with a huge total. I think he's your best bet.
Oh, you had 4 seconds to spare, too. Y'all going to have to slow down or I'm just going to start taking too long to ask the question. The next question up comes from John, whose Twitter handle is @badmancoming23. That's all one word. And he asks Matt, Komet, yeah, Goddard. Good Lord, I can't read. See, that's what happens, man. I'm trying to pin you in. What do you got?
Speed it up. Just go with Dallas Goedert. It's a better offense, for God's sakes. I know he hasn't gotten it going yet, but you don't want to invest in the Bears. Jeez.
Oh, look, we got a whistle. We got a whistle. It might have taken my account.
I was already done.
To do that. Chris says, PPR, Brian Robinson, Kyler Williamson, Alexander Madison, hashtag ask FFL. Andy, what do you got?
Oh, thank goodness Brian Robinson is in this question, so I don't have to give another endorsement to the Alexander Madison. Robinson is an easy start tonight against the Bears. This is a blow-up spot. Might get 2 touchdowns.
Look, I asked that one fast just to throw a little irony at it, and then you finish this thing quick. Like, now I'm stalling because we got to get through 3 seconds, and I'm going to get the whistle. This seems wildly unfair. All right, we are back to Harmon, and they've again given me a great name. Jean-Claude's Damn Van. That is well done.
Love it.
0.5 PPR, Thielen, or Michael Thomas, ?
Thielen, I will be braver than Andy Behrens and tell you that the engine of the Carolina Panthers offense in the year 2023 is 33-year-old Adam Thielen. And hey, let's give him some credit. The guy is playing well. He's at least beaten zone coverage.
Oh, that's a question. We'll see how that one went. Spencer said Debo or Miles Sanders, full PPR. Andy, what do you think?
Hey, you know who is not the engine of the Carolina offense? That's Miles Sanders. I don't think I want to mess around with him. I'll take even a banged-up Deebo Samuel over Miles Sanders at this point. He's got a knee, he's got the ribs. I don't care. I want the better offense here.
I don't blame you at all. Look, we got all this time. All right, we're going to throw another one up. You guys are ruining the game for me. John Guy, at JGuy28. Gus Edwards or Calvin Ridley, which is Ridley. Okay,
you're going to play Calvin Ridley. I know you people are all up in your feelings. We haven't seen Calvin Ridley have a big week since week 1. It's a 4-game sample for a wide receiver. Also, he got a touchdown last week. You can't complain if the guy scores a touchdown. Start Ridley over Gus Edwards.
That is so well done. You know what? I'm going to try and use a voice for the next one. Robert.Anderson says, Brees, Warren, Gibbs, hashtag RP wealth problems. That's the best I can do. What do you think, Andy?
Is this really RB Wealth in the year 2023? I guess it is. I guess they're all healthy. I'd go Brees Hall here. He gets Denver. I mean, Denver gave up obviously 1 million points to the Bears last week, 70 points to Miami, and 8 touchdowns to running backs the week before. So this is Brees Hall pretty comfortably.
Okay, I like that one. We'll get another one over to Matt, and this one comes from Reno of Clyde. Thielen or Flowers, hashtag make your pick, hashtag ask FFL. Extra credit for using multiple hashtags. Matt, what do you think?
Don't need to read all the hashtags. My head wants to say Thielen again. My heart wants to tell you Zay Flowers. Let's go with our heart. I mean, come on, that's more fun. Zay Flowers, the Steelers have been giving up to all outside receivers lately.
Oh man, he's He's good. I'm not going to lie. All right, J.R. Ghost says Gus Edwards, Javonte Williams, or Jaleel McLaughlin. Hashtag AskFFL. Andy, what do you got?
Oh, the Denver backfield is kind of murky right now with Javonte Williams returning to practice. It's a difficult matchup. Probably not going to put up a lot of points. I want Gus Edwards against Pittsburgh. Again, Pittsburgh has been so friendly to opposing running backs. Gus really coming into significant workload. I think he's got a shot at 18 to 20 touches.
Oh, well done. All right, Harmon, you get the last one. Jamie Chambers, hashtag AskFFL. Need one for my flex, comma. 0.5 PPR, dash. Dobbs, Waddle, Moss, or Ridley, period. Thanks. Matt, what do you think?
I actually did have to take some time to think about this one. It's not Dubes, it's not Moss. It's between Ridley and Waddle. I'll go with Jalen Waddle, who's just due for a big game. I mean, come on, he's attached to the Dolphins' offense.
All right, that is great work by them, even though I tried to fit him in like Harmon. MVP, today's show MVP, Harmon wins the MVP. Join us every week, Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific time. Check out our whole library of podcasts, including the Yahoo Fantasy Football Show. Got a lot of great stuff out there that we're really proud that we're making for you in the Yahoo app, Yahoo Fantasy. Be sure to check in Sunday morning. Obviously, we'll get you caught up for the latest on player injuries. And, of course, our own Scott Panowski will be answering your last-minute lineup questions on social media. Hashtag AskFFL. Good luck to all your teams in Week 5. For Matt Harmon, for Andy Behrens, I'm Jason Fitz. For everybody that works so tirelessly behind the scenes to let us be goofballs in front of a mic, we appreciate every single one of you that took the time to watch and listen today. Have a great week, guys.